Westward expansion was instrumental in the growth and development of the United States in the 19th century. Let's take a look at some of the most important aspects. In the 19th century, manifest destiny was a widely held belief in the United States that its settlers were destined to expand across North America. This attitude helped fuel Western settlement, Native American removal, and war with Mexico. With the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, the United States purchased approximately 828 million square miles of territory from France, thereby doubling the size of the country. What was known as Louisiana Territory stretched from the Mississippi River in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, and from the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the Canadian border in the north. Part or all of 15 states were eventually created from the land deal, which is considered one of the most important achievements of Thomas Jefferson's presidency. Signed into law in May of 1862, the Homestead Act opened up settlement in the western U.S., allowing any American, including freed slaves, to put in a claim for up to 160 free acres of federal land. By the end of the Civil War, 15,000 homestead claims had been established, and more followed in the post-war years. Eventually, 1.6 million individual claims would be approved, nearly 10% of all government-held property, for a total of 420,000 square miles of territory. So to be clear, with the Homestead Act, the deal that the government was offering was if you would farm the land for 5 years, they would give you up to 160 acres of land. In 1862, the Pacific Railroad Act chartered the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific Railroad companies and tasked them with building a transcontinental railroad that would link the United States from east to west. Over the next 7 years, the two companies would race towards each other from Sacramento, California on one side and Omaha, Nebraska on the other, struggling against great risks before they met in Promontory, Utah on May 10, 1869. The telegraph changed communication forever and was also a big part of westward expansion that allowed people to not live in such close proximity. Developed in the 1830s and 1840s by Samuel Morse and other inventors, the telegraph revolutionized long-distance communication. It worked by transmitting electrical signals over a wire laid between stations. In addition to helping invent the telegraph, Samuel Morse developed a code bearing his name, the Morse code, that assigned a set of dots and dashes to each letter of the English alphabet and allowed the simple transmission of complex messages across telegraph lines. In 1844, Morse sent his first telegraph message from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, and by 1866, a telegraph line had been laid across the Atlantic Ocean from the U.S. to Europe. Although the telegraph had fallen out of widespread use by the beginning of the 21st century, replaced originally by the telephone and later by fax machines and then the internet, it laid the groundwork for the communications revolution that led to those later innovations. And finally, we have the gold rush. The discovery of gold nuggets in the Sacramento Valley in early 1848 sparked the gold rush, arguably one of the most significant events to shape American history during the first half of the 19th century. As news spread of the discovery, thousands of prospective gold miners traveled by sea or land to San Francisco and the surrounding area. By the end of 1849, the non-native population of the California Territory was 100,000 compared to the pre-1848 figure of less than 1,000 people. A total of $2 billion worth of precious metal was extracted from the area during the gold rush, which peaked in 1852.